Welcome to the new segment of News and Views with the Mayor. I'm Mayor Harvey Person, City of Douglasville, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to this segment of the News and Views today. Glad to have you with me. I'd like to talk just briefly with you, if I may, about my first 60 days in office. It's been a busy 60 days. We've had a lot going on. We continue to work with a collaborative effort with the Chamber of Commerce to pull the community together to have a shared vision of what we would like to see Douglasville and Douglas County become. As most of you have heard me mention on the campaign trail and then with a couple of the speeches that I've made, I certainly have an overall vision to help make Douglasville, Douglas County become one of the premier places in America to live. But that takes a collaborative effort. That's my vision. But we need to get many people within our community working together to share in what they want their vision to be. And then once we have that shared vision, then we've got to work to see that it gets implemented. And that's where the planning process comes into play. A lot of things have been done in the past 60 days. Like I said, we're working with the Chamber and having focus groups, and many people within the community come together to talk about what their vision is for Douglasville and Douglas County so that we have a shared vision. We have pulled in many different groups. One of the most recent groups that we've had discussion with is the faith-based part of our community. We had a group of pastors within the community that were faith-based pulled together to share what their vision would be and what their participation level would be in the community to have a shared vision. During the month of February, we celebrated Career, Technical, Agricultural Education Week, the first week in February. And at that time, I presented this group with a proclamation stressing how important it is to get a good education. And you will see a little bit more about that when I have my interview with Labor Commissioner Mark Butler that will tie together the importance of education and working to become educated so that you can become a better contributor to society. We also had the newly elected training in Athens. Myself and 3 of the council members that were recently elected were required by state law to attend a 2-day training session in Athens that's put on by the Carl Vinson Institute in conjunction with the Georgia Municipal Association. The purpose of that is to share with the newly elected officials some of the things that they will be experiencing in their new positions that they have to help govern the communities that they were elected in. Well, I had the chamber luncheon where I shared my vision for the city and the community. You can watch it on CITI TV at 5 p.m. on Tuesday evenings. We also recently had a council workshop 2 weekends ago. We called it a workshop, some called it a marathon endurance event, because we spent over 22 hours in a 48-hour period discussing a lot of the different aspects of governing the city of Douglasville. We talked about the financial condition, we talked about where we needed to be, we talked about strategic planning, we talked about personnel issues, we talked about public safety. We covered a full range of items that needed to be discussed to come up with a strategic plan to move the city of Douglasville forward. There's been a lot of things that have been going on during the last 60 days. I'm excited to be your mayor. I look forward to working with you. Hope to see you soon in several of the town hall meetings that we'll be conducting. And please, at any time, feel free to contact me at City Hall with any questions or concerns you may have about your government. Coming up next, joining me in the studio will be Commissioner Mark Butler, the Labor Commissioner for the state of Georgia. Hopefully everybody's got plenty of sleep, plenty to eat, and taking their vitamins and ready to go. I think we have a tremendous opportunity as a city and as an elected body, but we got to stay focused, work together to get that accomplished. And looking around and the experience and the knowledge that's in this room with the elected body and then what we have with staff, I I think it's amazing what we can do and what we can accomplish if we work together. I think excellence is the key word. We got to move for that. And to me, attitude is the key to everything. You can have all the experience in the world, you can have all the training in the world, but if you get up in the morning and you've got the wrong attitude, it's going to affect everything you do and affect everything or everybody that you come in contact with. So it's incumbent on us to be responsible for our attitudes and what we do. The next thing is how we govern. We are a representative form of government. The people elected us to govern, to make decisions, and a lot of times tough decisions. We've got to make those and then put them out there. We're not elected to govern by referendum on every individual issue that comes up. That's what the people elected us to make those decisions. Like I said, we're a representative form of government, and we need to keep that in mind. Now, we all come from different places with different ideas, different values, different beliefs, different understandings. That's what makes America great. But if we come together collectively, it's amazing what we can accomplish. I'm excited to be here. I think we have a great group to work with if we'll just stay focused and work together. It's amazing what we can do and accomplish working together. As Bill said, we've talked quite a bit in the last 8 weeks. One of the first things that I think that we needed to do was look at and determine, first and foremost, what's the financial condition of our city and where are we moving forward. Because any of the decisions that we make, they need to be responsible financially, and if we don't know where we are financially, it's tough to make good, solid, sound fiscal decisions. So we're going to open it up today and talk about the finances and moving forward. And like I said, I'm excited to be here and looking forward to it. So any comments or anything anybody'd like to add? Okay, Bill, I'll turn it back over to you. Welcome to News and Views today with the Mayor, and this portion of the show is dedicated to news. And we are very fortunate to have with us today the Commissioner of Labor, Mark Butler. He was at the Chapel Hill High School earlier today talking with the students, and then we were very fortunate to have him work us into his schedule. And with that, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Butler to our show today, and thank you for being here. I know you got a very busy schedule, but we're glad to have you this morning. Glad you could work it into your schedule.
Never too busy for you.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner. Let me just give you a quick little rundown on the Commissioner and what his experience is. First of all, he's the 9th Commissioner of Labor, and he was sworn into office on January the 10th, 2011. And he's kind of notable in that he was the first, or is the first Republican to head the Georgia Department of Labor. So that's quite I don't know what I say, honor or an experience or whatever.
Probably depends on who you're asking.
There you go. But that's quite notable that he is the first Republican Labor Commissioner in the state of Georgia. I believe you're from Carrollton, correct?
That's correct.
Did you grow up in Carrollton, Commissioner?
Well, actually, I actually grew up in a small town called Roopville, but not too many folks know where Roopville is. But
okay.
I spent most of my time around Carrollton. That's where I live now.
Okay. And then I believe you served in the General Assembly in the House, servicing or representing House District 18 for what, 8 years or so?
It's 8 years. Actually, I started my career off in House District 88, Post 1. I don't know if some people may remember there was an experiment, so to say, with some multi-member districts about 10 years ago through a redistricting process, and that's how I was first elected. And that district was large. It was actually double the size of a normal House district, and I actually had most of Carroll County, all of Heard County, and part of Coweta County. And then 2 years later, through action through the courts, they ended up having to redraw those lines, and then it ended up with part of Carroll and part of Harrelson. And that was the new district I had was District 18, which I had for the last 6 years in the House.
Okay, okay. And then you decided to run for the Labor Commissioner, and the rest of it's history then.
You know, when I was in the House, I was the vice chair of the I was the chair of the Appropriations Subcommittee that dealt with the budget for Department of Labor, also for the Department of Human Resources and Veterans Affairs. And during that time, I got to know Department of Labor, their systems, their budget, and became very interested in the department. I saw an opportunity where I thought we could do more with that department. And when that post came open in this last election, I ran for it, and was very fortunate that the people of Georgia decided to give me a shot to be their labor commissioner.
Right. Well, we're glad that that happened also. And I believe you were, and I guess probably still a small business owner for over 20 years, so you've got quite a bit of experience in dealing with labor and jobs and seeing that people are have the types of jobs that we need in Georgia then. So that's something you're very well versed in.
Yeah, I have family business for the last 20 years. Actually, the business has been ongoing since the late 60s. But yeah, I bring a little bit different experience to the job. Worked in the private sector. I'm one of those that actually signed both sides of the paycheck. Not only did I sign the one that I received from my work there, but I also signed the employee's check too. And that gives you a little bit different perspective. Understand how business works,
right.
Understand the responsibilities, also understand how sometimes the government can interfere with business being able to grow. And I think that's a very important perspective to bring when you come into this type of job, because a lot of times we make policies that can interfere with the growth of business. And in the Department of Labor, our job is to help get people back to work. And knowing the inside of how business works is definitely an advantage.
Right. Being a business owner and coming into this position, that you're certainly well versed in it on both sides of the aisle, in that you've seen it from the legislative session, you understand the budgets and that type of thing, and the process, but then being a small business owner for over 20 years, you understand the business side of it. So I would say you're well versed in what needs to be known to handle the job. And from what I understand, you've made quite a few changes, all for the good, from what I understand. Would you like to share a little bit of that with us?
Well, obviously with my business background, we're bringing a more pro-business approach. We're changing a lot of the systems in the Department of Labor, become more customer-focused. And our customers are not just the people that are looking for work, but also the businesses out there. And so we're in the process of changing our web presence. We've also changed a lot of the processes that business have to go through, the appeals process, how people file for unemployment, how people pay their unemployment tax premiums. We've gone to more of an online type service to make it easier, quicker. That way the business owners out there have to spend less time going through red tape with us, and we're looking to streamline even more. What I told our people when I came on board was take a look at all of our processes. The ones that we're required to do by the federal government, obviously we have to keep doing. The ones that we have added over the years, take a look at them, evaluate them, see if there were really any good to it. If there's not, get rid of it. Streamline processes as much as possible, because we want to be an agency that helps solve problems, not create problems.
Right. Well, that was among several things, but that was one of the things that in looking at the website, and a portion of it that where you're speaking, you said that one of the things that you wanted to do was that you were committed to customer service. That's just like here in the city of Douglasville. We're committed to the citizens. We're here for them, not them there for us. And customer service is a very important thing to us, and I believe you actually state that on your website, that customer service, you're committed to it.
Right, it is, and hopefully here soon people are going to see a brand new website come out that is easier to navigate, that you can find the information that you needed. Because I go to be quite honest with you, one of the first things I did, when I started running for this office and after I got in, was I got on the website too, was checking it out, and the web has become one of the most important pieces of information where you can gather information, and was not happy with how it navigated what was available, and so we're working to correct that as quickly as possible. However, the wheels of government sometimes move a little bit slower than you want them to, but we're well on the way. Like I said, we've added some new online services. One of the things that two of the things that we did, one of them on the business side, in the past the businesses were not able to file their unemployment taxes online and all their paperwork. We have corrected that, saved businesses time, and also, and quite frankly, in money. And also, we found out that a lot of our employees out in our career centers were having to spend way too much time processing people's claims in person. We looked into it fairly quickly and found out that without too much effort, we could change that to an online system, which frees up our employees. Instead of them spending most of their time helping people file for unemployment, now they can help them find a job.
Right.
And that's what we want to be known for, is not the unemployment office, but the employment office.
That's one of the things I've heard you say, I guess, several times when I've heard you speak publicly, and that you want it to be the employment office, not the unemployment office. And that leads us into the next thing that I think is very important to most of the citizens that are watching this program out here today. And that's something you actually say on your website also, and it's very important to us, but that job creation is the most important issue facing our state. And not only is it probably the most important issue facing our state, but it's a very important issue that's facing our community. And along that line, what I'd like to ask you is, what do you think the current economic outlook for Georgia as well as the West Georgia region is? I'd like to hear some of your views, if possible, on that.
Well, as I'm sure most of the people out there understand, one of the things that really hit West Georgia very hard, and me being from West Georgia, got to experience it firsthand myself. We were definitely in a growth period when the recession hit. And a lot of our growth was dependent upon construction. Mm-hmm. The housing market was in a boom time back in 2005, 2006, going into 2007. You were seeing houses and subdivisions going up everywhere. And then the bottom dropped out. We had 1 year where we lost in the state of Georgia over 85,000 construction jobs in 1 year. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it has a ripple effect. The next biggest loss that we had was in manufacturing, which is almost the same number. It was right around 80,000 jobs. And then retail and also financial services were right behind that. All of those things are connected to construction. So the West Georgia area was hit especially hard on that. However, we have seen some improvement in manufacturing and also in construction here recently. I feel, I'm a little cautious, but I feel confident that we are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and thank goodness it's not the train. So, but it's definitely. I think we're definitely headed in the right direction. We're seeing some positive numbers. We're definitely seeing a lot of economic development activity in Georgia. A lot of companies are taking a look at Georgia, and we're headed in the right direction right now. Good,
good. Well, one of the things in talking about the economic outlook in West Georgia, and to me, one of the things that's a bright side that I think sometimes that the media doesn't focus on enough, we do know what the unemployment rate is, and in Douglas County it's roughly 10.2%. But the plus side of that, or the bright side of it, is that 90% of the people are still working. I don't think we hear enough emphasis placed on that. And I know that doesn't bode well for the person that doesn't have a job, that needs to go back to work, but we need to focus on the positives of that. We do have an economy that does seem to be making the turn. That's what the indicators that I see, and I guess that's what I hear you saying, that things are looking better. We are starting to put more people back to work. Are the unemployment claims going down?
Well, actually, initial claims have been going down consistently. We have a lot less claims this year than we had this time last year, and definitely less claims than we had from 2 years ago. So the amount of initial claims are down. We're seeing more people go back to work. One of the interesting things that we found in the unemployment numbers for last year, for 2011, even though we showed a net job loss for the year, we went back and we looked at where those job losses were. And in previous years, the private sector was the leader in job loss through your construction, manufacturing. However, last year, the job loss leader was government, state and local government, whether that's cities, counties, state government, boards of education. That's where our biggest job losses were. And private sector actually gained jobs last year. If you take the government sector out and just looked at the private sector, they actually added jobs last year. And what we took from that is that our local governments have heard the people. The people want government to live within its means.
Right.
And there's no doubt, by looking at the numbers that we saw, government is getting smaller. I mean, there was over 22,000 jobs lost in the government sector alone last year. So I think that goes to show that our leadership and our local government, state governments are listening to the people, saying, do not raise our taxes, live within our means, and that's what we're seeing.
Good. Well, that was the thing that I ran on, is fiscal responsibility and making sure that we manage the city's business, which really is the citizens' business, because what we're charged with doing is managing the assets, which are revenues, hard assets, and things that the citizens entrust us to manage and see that it's managed properly. Yep. And that's something that we're working very diligently to do. But the other thing, as far as putting people back to work, we are looking at and working to implement some programs within Douglasville to create an environment to put people back to work. Government, I don't feel, is the one that creates jobs.
Absolutely not.
It's our job, I believe, to facilitate and create an environment to help then facilitate jobs and work with private sectors to bring them into the community. And in looking at some of those numbers, we looked at some numbers that showed in the last 10 years, very large corporations have not done anything to have a net increase in the employment of the country. And when we were looking at those statistics, one of the things that we found to be interesting, very interesting, was that businesses that employed 50 people or less created more jobs than the large business sector. So we're working to create an environment that will help facilitate some of that. And I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on that, on putting people back to work, large manufacturing as opposed to small businesses, and what do you feel really drives the economic engine of the state?
Well, there's no doubt in Georgia, small business is what drives our local economies. There's no doubt about that. We spend a lot of time talking about incentives and things to bring in large companies, and we just had the big announcement toward the Athens area about Caterpillar. The one thing that you can take away from that, however, is when you do get one of those large manufacturers, a lot of times that really helps your small business grow, and you can actually see, whereas maybe you create 1,000 or 1,500 jobs by bringing in that one large one, you can create almost twice that much in the atmosphere that you create around that business, whether it's restaurants, repair shops, or other services that can provide services to those large manufacturers. I know that when Kia was built down toward West Point, a lot of the counties on our side benefited from that. Some small businesses, fabrication shops and things like that got a lot of work from that. So, but small business is what is going to help us come out of this. They're the ones that are really creating the jobs, and you're right, government doesn't create jobs. Right. Most of the time, government's the one that gets in the way of creating jobs. Right. Sometimes we get a little bit too heavy on the regulation and the rules and things like that, and you can really stifle some growth that way. So we have to really be concentrating on making sure we have the right atmosphere. And to that end, one of the things that we looked at was you can have really great industrial parks, and you can have really great incentive packages. But right now, what we're hearing from business right now is the need for skilled labor. There are jobs around Georgia, all around Georgia right now, but they're needing certain types of skill sets. Because of this recession, some of the jobs that we've lost, they're never going to come back. And so what we have been doing is working with our partners in the communities, with the private sector, taking and very much so with the technical colleges, taking a look at our individuals who have lost their jobs and trying to find a way to retool their skill sets to get them prepared for this new generation of higher skilled jobs that Georgia's going to be attracting in the future.
Right. Well, we've got about 2 more minutes left in our program, and we're a little as we get closer to the end of it. But one of the things I would like to ask you as we get ready to close, there's been a lot of conversation had, as you might guess, about maybe any plans to open a local office here in Douglasville. The closest one we have is Carrollton. I believe there's one in Cobb. There's one in Atlanta. What might be the opportunity that we could get a Department of Labor office in Douglasville?
Well, I mean, we would like to have one here, but right now we're going through some very austere times budget-wise,
right,
just like everyone else is. And we are taking a look at our office and our office locations right now all across Georgia. We have 53 career centers across the state. And so during our evaluation period, we're going to see what's working, what's not working, how many people we're serving. And then when we get to the decision point, then we'll take a look and see what's out there. Of course, you know, if the city would provide us some free space, it might could work out something.
Well, I tell you, Commissioner, we would be more than willing to sit down and talk with you about that. We might can work. I won't put you on the spot and ask you if that was a commitment.
No.
But no, we would love to talk with you to see if there might be something that we could do, maybe something that we could work out. Because to me, public-private partnerships and governments and the different entities working together to meet the needs of our citizens, that's what we want to do.
Oh, yeah.
And if there's some way that we could work with the Department of Labor to make that happen, we would be more than willing to do it. Love to sit down and have more discussion with you.
All right, we will do that.
And as we get ready to wrap it up today, I know that working together,
yes,
we can take and help put Americans, but not only Americans, but our community, Douglas County, and our citizens back to work. We appreciate you coming in, taking time from your busy schedule to talk with us today, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you, Commissioner.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, thank you.